ladies and gentlemen, from the studios in Lake Norman, North Carolina. This is episode 7 of the BENGEBUSTER Show. All right, everyone. Welcome to a new edition of the BENGEBUSTER Show. And my guest this week is none other than Danny Vegas. Danny, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, brother. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Man, I was just thinking about doing this interview with you and thinking about how long we've known each other. It's coming up on about 11 years now.
Yep. Sure is, man. Time flies.
I'm telling you. Time flies about fast when you're having fun.
Yeah.
And, man, going back to how we first met, we were working for this little promotion there in Lexington, North Carolina, and I think at that point they teamed you and I together, and then we had a little group, and we kind of ran rough shot around there for a while, didn't we?
Yeah. It was ASWA, Henry's promotion.
Yes.
Matt Houston, whatever you want to call him. Yeah.
Yeah, that was some good times. I think one of my most memorable moments working up there was the time that we were doing, I believe it was a 6-man. It was you and me, and I want to say I can't remember who our partner was. And then I don't really remember who we wrestled, but I remember the reason why that match sticks out in my mind. Like 4 hours later, I was in the hospital with a bad case of kidney stones. And but I was damned and determined to make that show. And if you go back and watch the tape, you'll see I still have on my hospital wristband in the match.
Really? What match was that?
That was a show that Jake Roberts was on.
And I don't even know where that tape's at, man.
Yeah, we
I wish I had it actually.
Yeah, we done a 6-man. It was you, me, and I know it was you, me, and your cousin. What was his name?
Ryan Marquet.
Ryan Marquet, yeah. Against Matt Houston and 2 other guys, and I remember Matt didn't want me in the match much because I just came from the hospital, but I was like, forget that, man. Jake Roberts in the house. I got to show him what I can do. Of course, he, I'm sure he was in the back not paying no attention, but, this was like 10 years ago now. Had different thoughts.
Yeah. Speaking of that night, man, like Jake Roberts, he's quite the character. Some pretty cool stuff happened back in the back. My cousin, the one that used to record for ASWA back in the day, is actually training with me now. He's one of the Amish boys, Hezekiah.
Yes.
Jake Roberts didn't talk to nobody that whole night, and people were bothering him, like, trying to take pictures, even the workers, fans or whatever, and he was just like, man, I'm ready to go home.
Right.
And I was like, yeah, me too, brother, just trying to shoot. Are we allowed to cuss?
We'll try to keep it PG.
Well, shoot the crap with him. And basically, he started talking to me and Justin or whatever, and he actually gave Justin a lap dance, or a Hezekiah.
Oh, wow. I hate I missed that.
And he was sitting there counting his money. He just got paid, and he gave old Hezekiah a lap dance.
Oh, that's hilarious. I wish I had a camera for that. That'd have been fun.
Yeah, I know, man. I wish I would have recorded it.
Yeah, talking about Jake Roberts, he was super cool. I remember I walked over because I was doing a little angle with him. He was going to put the snake on me, and so one of the funny things, I went over there to talk to him, and I was like, I was trying to talk to him to kind of look and see the bag so I could see how big the snake was, so I could see if I really wanted to go through with this or not. And so I was talking to him, and I said, I was asking him, I said, Jake, how do you want me to sell this? And he said, "Don't worry, kid, you'll sell it." And so I thought that was pretty good. And then he asked me, he goes, "How long you been in the business?" And I told him, and then he was like, "Okay, well, who trained you?" And then when I said Jimmy Valiant, then he like opened up to me. He says, "Man, Jimmy is a great guy," and of course he had great things to say about Jimmy Valiant, like everybody does. And but it was so cool. It's like at first he was very standoffish from me, but then once he learned who trained me and in the business.
Yeah.
He was more laid back. And then I remember the referee and somebody else came by while he and I were talking and wanted to take a picture. And like he didn't even really pose for the picture. He had this look on his face like, "Are you kidding me?" And I never will forget it. When the guy walked away, he said, "Brother," he said, "can I tell you something?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "There's more marks in the locker room than there are outside." I said, "Yeah." I said, I can believe that." He said,
that's exactly what happened that night. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
What
you're
happened,
fine.
That night in Lexington when I was talking about Hezekiah getting a lap dance with a lot of the workers and fans and everybody was just bothering, trying to get pictures and everything. He's just like, "Man, I'm just ready to go home."
Yeah.
And me and Hezekiah were like, one of the few workers that wasn't aggravating him, and we just kind of sat there in the locker room, didn't really say much to him or anything. Of course we, shook our hands and introduced ourselves and everything, but we didn't aggravate him for no photos.
Mm-hmm.
We just let him be, and he kind of migrated to us because we wasn't bothering him.
Right.
And then we just sat there and conversated and shot the crap, and he ended up giving old Hezekiah a lap dance.
That's a great story. I love that. That's really good.
Yeah.
But
Justin still tells that story, or Hezekiah still tells that story to this day.
Oh, that's awesome. I know, going back to those days at ASWA, until they're near the end, from the time I guess met you guys, there were some really good houses there and some really good matches there. And, back then that was like some of the funnest times I had. I remember, I came to one show there, and I saw Ryan Marquet, and I told Matt Houston, I said, "Man, the next show I want to work this guy." And so the next show, I worked Ryan, and I think we were like third or fourth or whatever. But that was like our first match together, and he and I had so much chemistry. We gelled together so well. I thought the match went really good, and then when I got to the back, Matt Houston came up to me and said, "I don't know how to tell you this, but brother, that's the best match on the card." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's better than my match, And I said, "Well, I appreciate that." He said, "No, man." He said, "You and him were like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then finally you just got mad, got the chair, and got DQ'd and set up for the next time." He says, "Man, that was great." And but Ryan and I, we always had good matches, and then you and I did as well. Like I remember we done a tag one night. It was it me and Rick Converse against you and
I was actually about to mention that match. That's like one of my all-time favorites.
From
ASWA.
That was a really fun match. It was so easy and
it was me and Ryan Marquet.
That's right. Yeah,
working you and Rick Converse.
Yes. Because I think Ryan had turned on me. It was kind of like we done a. I turned babyface, he turned heel at the same time. It was so cool. How we done that. But like I said, it was really fun there, and the crowds in that building were always they were always super hot. They really loved the wrestling.
Yes, they were.
Now
I remember one night Ryan Marquet had actually got slapped by a woman at one of the ASWA shows.
I remember that. Yes, that was crazy. I know. I want to say it was like around Christmas time we had a show there, and I believe that was the night that we done a 6-man. It was me. I want to say it was me. It was me, Ryan, and Adam Awesome Adam. I can't remember now, but against you and 2 other people. I can't remember who. Well, it was you, Henry.
I can't even remember, brother.
I believe it was you and Matt Houston and somebody else. Oh, I know. It was It actually wasn't that. It was me. It was me, Paco Loco, and Ryan Marquet against you, Henry, and Adam Awesome. That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah. That was a fun match.
Man, I wish I could find some of those tapes.
I wish you could too, because that was some good stuff. So So
Dang.
how long have you been in the wrestling business now, total?
Well, I'm not going to sit out there, and say that I've been in it consistently since 2007. I started when I was 16 in 2007 with Matt Houston and Johnny Lightning.
Okay.
And then I trained with them in Thomasville. Like I said, I started in 2007. They ran Worldwide Wrestling. They ran that for a little bit in Thomasville, and then things went under with that. And then Matt started ASWA. Johnny, I think he moved towards the beach. And then I can't remember exactly what year the ASWA, went under. And then after that, I didn't have anywhere really to go. I kind of always followed, wherever Matt went.
Right.
Because he was the guy that broke me into the business, one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, excuse me, after that, I went and after ASWA went under, I was like, man, like I want to work more shows and, I want to learn more. Like, I feel like I can learn more. I feel like I don't know as much as I could. So I contacted a guy I actually went to school with, which I didn't even know when we were in school that he grew up in the professional wrestling business. If I would have known that, we probably would have been best friends. But it was Jimmy Parker.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I hit up Jimmy Parker, and he had a little training facility going on in Asheboro, and I went down there, and he just basically showed me the small things that I didn't know that made it so much better. Like, my mind was blown of, everything that I thought I knew, which I still don't know everything. Still learning.
Oh yeah, me too.
I tell my guys now, you never stop learning.
If we stop learning, you stop wrestling. That's my motto.
Exactly.
And Jimmy Parker, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I remember,
hell of a guy and hell of a worker.
Yeah, I remember working a lot of shows with him, and he and I would just sit in the corner, and it was almost like nobody else was there, and he and I would just talk the business and learn stuff from each other, and man, it was so great, and I can't say enough good things about Jimmy Parker. He's a heck of a guy.
He is
in and out of the ring,
and yes, I absolutely love picking his brain.
Mm-hmm. He pretty much grew up in the business, and he's second generation
he's been around
wrestler.
His whole life.
Yeah. I mean, his dad.
Him and his dad. Yeah, Les Parker.
Both of them super nice people. So looking back at your wrestling career, what do you think was like your favorite match of all time?
Favorite match of all time.
or maybe not a favorite match, but favorite guy to work with.
Let's see. Well, I mean, I know I'm on your podcast and everything. I'm not trying to kiss your tail, but probably the easiest guy to work is probably between you and Rob McBride.
Oh, I appreciate that. That's a heck of a comment
because
Rob's been around forever.
Anytime somebody says, "Hey, you're working Tony," or "Hey, you're working Rob," that's the night off.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun.
I appreciate that. It is, because the thing that gets me is, like, I go to these shows and I watch these guys, and they sit over in the corner and they talk out their match for 45 minutes, 2 hours, whatever. And then they get out there, and the fans could care less about what they're doing. And then you and I, every time that we've wrestled or done anything together, we just tell me what the finish is, and we got the rest. And it seems like you and I are always on the same thought process, as far as, kind of like going back to that one show we were on one time where this promoter wanted one thing, and then you and I had a better idea, and come to find out our idea got over way more than what that promoter wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was easier.
Yeah, exactly, man. Like I tell my boys now, man, there's nothing wrong with calling, the finish or even the start.
Mm-hmm.
Call it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with calling your start and your finish couple maybe a couple spots.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But don't call the whole damn match.
Yeah, I hate
Because
that.
when you get out there, you're trying to remember and focus on, okay, what's next,
Mm-hmm.
and you forget about what's most important, and that's the people.
Right.
Don't worry about what your next spot is. You know, worry about the crowd interaction. What should I do next to get this crowd into it, or is this crowd into it? You know.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the things that I was taught early on is there's so many guys goes out there and they'll do 10,000 high spots, and the crowd's like, what? You know, it's like no reaction at all, because they're not interacting with the people, and
Mm-hmm.
certain towns that you go wrestle at, you know, you can do all the acrobatic stuff, and the crowd's like, oh, they love it. But when you go to these old country towns that all they remember is Jim Crockett Promotions and the classic wrestling, that's what you better do, because if you don't, it's going to be like, you know, the crickets are going to be chirping, because they're not even going to understand what you're doing. You know, I feel like a lot of times I can go out there and get more heat off of an arm bar, and my back isn't hurting, compared to these guys that are doing 10,000 high spots and flying all over the place, and you know, and the crowd just gets a little excited. But you know, unless you're interacting with the people, you're not going to get much reaction from them. You know.
Exactly, man. Like this past weekend, we had worked a show in Rockingham, and the crowd was silent.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were silent the whole time. And I told them before we went out there, I said, work the crowd. Don't worry about this spot. Don't worry about that spot. Just work the crowd. And I was just like, you know, go out there, you give them heat. You know, you go out there and you get them a clapping. Don't worry about spots. Just get that crowd into it.
Right.
And at the end of the night, after our match, dude, oh my God, when it was Hezekiah. I didn't actually work. I had tweaked my shoulder a couple weeks ago, so I had to lay this one out. It was going to be a three-way dance, but it ended up being Hezekiah working Buddy Flowers.
Okay.
Two of my trainees.
Two great guys.
Yeah. Thank you. But basically, they worked each other. Then they didn't do nothing. Not a thing. And we had them popping off hip tosses. All because we worked the crowd.
Yep.
I went out there, and the other Amish boy, Jebediah, went out there with us. And, Hezekiah was working, but we were on the outside of the ring getting heat. And I stayed on that crowd, and Jebediah stayed on that crowd. And we had them heated. So we had them so riled up, no matter what, they were going to, love Buddy and, clap for Buddy. And as soon as Buddy got that pin, man, they erupted.
See, I mean, it's so simple. People, a lot of wrestlers make wrestling more complicated than it has to be. Why? Because they want to get they want to get all their stuff in, and you can get all your stuff in all day long, but if the people don't care, it doesn't mean anything. At that point, you're only stroking your own ego.
Yeah, like I tell them now, I'm just like, man, like you don't have to hit all these spots. Like you don't have to do spot after spot after spot after spot. Like give the people time to digest. Like if you're just hitting spot after spot after spot, they're like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. I can remember as a kid going and watching, Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat wrestle each other, and a lot of times they would work a headlock for 40 minutes. I bet
the crowd was going crazy.
The crowd was going nuts. Yeah. I mean, it was just, it's just a lost art. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful that guys like you and me and tons of others are still trying to keep that alive. And it's not all about 10,000 high spots and what I can do and get, make sure I get all my stuff in before.
George South is one of those boys that still keeps it alive.
Oh man, George is the best.
He is. I enjoy watching him work.
Anytime I'm on the show and I look and it says I'm Tony versus George South, I said, oh man, I'm going to have fun and I'm going to learn something tonight. And if I don't learn it, George will make me do it again.
Exactly.
So, but George's another one that I can't say enough about. He's a lot of times I don't think he gets the credit he deserves.
Yeah, I agree.
And he tells the best stories too.
He does, man. Anytime that he's in the locker room, I'm laughing.
Oh yeah. Him and Ricky.
He's always cracking me up.
Him and Ricky Morton both. I mean, good Lord, get them both together, and man, Ricky tells all his road stories, and then George will tell his, and I'm like, man, I don't know which one's better. They're both pretty good. They're both really good. So you're talking about your trainees. So now, so what year was it that you left wrestling?
I want to say it was like 2013, 2012, 2013. So I've been in it for like 4 or 5 years.
Uh-huh.
And then I started a band with a couple dudes that I went to high school with. And that was basically my first band. That band split up. And then later on down the road, I started another band.
Mm-hmm.
And that band really popped off. We talked to a few record labels. We had thousands and thousands of views on YouTube. We had thousands and thousands of plays on Spotify. We were really popping off, and we talked to a couple record labels, like I said, and we had an opportunity to actually go on our first actual tour in Canada and throughout the United States.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And basically things turned sour with that, and we split up. One thing led to another, we broke up, and I just kind of, after that ended, I was like, man, I always got to be doing something.
Right, yeah,
and
you're like me. I'm the same way.
And I'd been talking about getting back into wrestling, which I didn't really have time to 100%, do because I was doing music. But I still missed it,
Mm-hmm.
It's like an ex-wife that you just can't get away from.
Right.
And so I was out of it probably like 6 years. And, I was like, you know what? I'm going to get back in the wrestle. And I went out, I bought me a ring, I set it up, and I started bumping again. And my cousin, my shoot cousin, Hezekiah, is actually Ryan Marquet's brother.
Mm-hmm.
He was like, man, I'm down too. Let's do it. Let's do it to it. And he started training with me. He's actually traded with me and another guy that comes down to the school. His name's Dave Saunders. I don't know if you know who that is.
No, I don't think I've met Dave yet.
Team Sexy. Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy, great worker.
That's great.
But he's been helping me out. He's been helping me out with the boys, and he's been in it consistently. I want to say he started maybe like a couple years after me, but he's consistently been in the professional wrestling business.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been helping me out with training them and getting a little ring rust off myself. But yeah.
Oh, that's great. And I've been wanting to get down to your training center because I know now you got your ring in a nice building, so you're able to train, rain, shine, sleet, or snow.
Yep, exactly. I did have it set up in my house, and we would after every weekend we would train on Saturdays and Sundays, which we still train on Saturdays and Sundays, but I had it set up in my house at first. And after every training session, we would tear it down, put it in the building.
Mm-hmm.
But now I actually have a building in Thomasville on National Highway, and we got it set up there. Eventually, I want to possibly run shows out of it. And right now we're just in the baby steps.
Right, yeah. Well, I know.
I want to make sure everything's perfect and right. Not only to look, professional, but also money wise and
Right. Yeah, for sure.
etc.
Right, for sure. Well, I'm sure, I'm sure there's going to be some buildings coming open pretty soon, I think.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Oh man, that was, I couldn't resist that one. But I think that's awesome because to have a building like that, when I owned my own wrestling company, I'd done that. I started out, I'd put the ring up in my parents' backyard, and because I lived in an apartment, so I couldn't put it there. But my parents lived out in the country, so my parents were nice enough to let me put it up in their backyard, and I would just train guys, and pretty soon I talked to them and let me put it in the front yard. And once I done that, people would drive by and see this, this big wrestling ring in the front yard, and they would stop and go, "What's going on over here?" And that's how I got a lot of my guys. They just driving by, seeing the ring, and I'd say, "Oh yeah." And at the time that I bought the ring, I had no intentions of running shows. I was just going to keep the ring just to work out in myself and a couple of my guys, my cousins and a couple of my buddies. We were just going to work out in and train, and then just go work for all these different promoters. But then one day they're like, "Tony, why don't you run shows?" I'm like, I don't think I want to do that. And then they kept on at me, and then a buddy of mine opened up a bar, and he's like, "Yeah, bring your ring down and do shows in my bar." And once I done one show in the bar, and man, it just took off, and I was like, "Man, this is pretty good." And the good thing about running shows at that bar, I didn't have to rent the building. I didn't have to pay no deposit. I just brought my ring to his bar, set it up.
Oh man!
And I had it made. I got 100% of the tickets that sold at the door, and he got 100% of the people that bought beer. So I'm sure he made way more than me, but it was still a good deal, and it worked great. The only downside was sometimes there wasn't enough security there, and it got to the point where it wasn't on a good side of town either. So a lot of the people that were coming to the bar, they wasn't coming to watch wrestling; they were coming to drink. Of course we had a few fights break out, and I'm guilty of being one of the participants. One night I had a gentleman, or I wouldn't call him a gentleman, but had this guy. He kept trying to get in the ring during the show, and I took intermission. I went over to him and I said, "Listen, if you get in my ring again," because we had the bar didn't have no security that night. No security guys showed up, so just my wrestlers and me were like the only security we had. And so I told the guys, like, "Listen, you stay over on that side of the ring, and if I catch you in my ring again, I'm gonna throw you out." He said, "No, man, I want to join your wrestling school." I didn't even have a wrestling school. It was just something he was making up, And I said, "Okay, fine, I'll let you be in my wrestling school, but listen, don't get back in my ring, all right?" "Okay, man, it's cool." Well, that night we were doing a tournament, so I had my belt out there at ringside, like on the timekeeper's table, and one of my workers comes up to me and goes, "Hey, Tony, there's a guy at the bar, acting like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and guess what?" I said, "What?" "He's got a belt just like yours." I said, "A belt like mine?" So I ran out to the table, my belt's gone. I'm like, crap, somebody stole it.
Oh man!
So I walk over into the bar area, and here's this son of a gun. He's got my belt strapped on. He's got 2 beers in his hands, and he's drinking like he's Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's about 5 other drunks around him, and they're having a good time. That's fine. I have no problem with that. But the problem I had was he had my belt, and so went behind him, snatched the belt off of him. He spins around and he's like, "Hey, I just want to join your school." I said, "Listen, if you join my school, I'm gonna stretch you, and you ain't gonna like it." And I said, "This is your last warning." I said, if you get in my ring, touch my belt, or mess my wrestlers, I said, I'm gonna kick your tail. And so I went on back. We started the match, or started the show back, and then we had a couple matches, and then one of the other wrestlers was running late, so I decided to take another 5-minute intermission. So I take the intermission. I'm over there talking to my biggest muscle-bound wrestler I have, and I'm talking to him, going over everything with him, and I hear this crash behind me. It's like, what in the heck is that now? I turn around, and my video camera's laying on the floor, and there's like 4 pieces of it on the floor, and I'm livid. And so I'm like, who knocked my camera over? They're like, that guy. And guess who it was? Same dude. So I go over there, and I spin him around, and I said, "You broke my camera, and you're going to pay for it." Well, he's holding a beer in his hand. He's got a baseball cap on, and he says, "I ain't paying for nothing." And I said, "You're going to pay for it one way or another." I said, "You going to pay for it with money, or I'm taking it out of your rear end?" And my dad was there, and of course he was trying to calm me down. And I was like, "Dad, just step away, because I don't want you to get hit, but I'm fixing to knock this dude out." And so the guy goes, "Oh, you're going to knock me out, huh?" I said, "I sure am." And of course he outweighed me by, I don't know, 30, 40 pounds. And so he sets his beer bottle down, and he grabs his baseball cap. And if you've ever seen that movie Over the Top, when Sylvester Stallone spins his hat around backwards every time he's going to arm wrestle, so this guy's going to do that gimmick. He gets the hat about halfway spun, and I just tattooed him. Boom! Right in the jaw. He hit the ground. 4 of my wrestlers grabbed me, and they're pulling me out. And I'm like, let me go. And they're like, no. So they get me outside. Well, this guy's like at the door yelling at me, "Come on." He's like, "You better be glad they're holding." He goes, "You better be glad they're holding you back. I'd whip your tail." And then my big muscle guy goes, "No, it'd be the other way around. You better be glad we're holding him back, because he'd knock you down again." But he was there. He was right there enough where I could get a cheap shot in. So then I kick him between the legs. Got one more shot in. Well, because they're holding my arms, I can't do nothing, but they wouldn't hold my feet. So I gave him a good kick.
Yeah.
And then the wrestlers end up throwing him out the front door, and that was the end of it. But man, and at that point I said, yeah, this thing that I got going really good. I can see it's going downhill really fast because there's no security. And sure enough, man, about, I don't know, 2 months later, because he had us set up to come there and do shows sometimes twice a month, but definitely always once a month. And we were set to come back, and then he called me and said, "I don't think we can do wrestling here anymore." He said, "My bar's under investigation by the FBI." And turns out his bartenders, I think, were they had a poker machine, so his bartenders were like paying off people on the poker machine. And then selling drinks to underage minors, so it got shut down. So unfortunately, but if not, man, I look back at that. I mean, I had some good times in that building too.
Yeah, sometimes professional wrestling and alcohol doesn't go well together.
It don't. It can be scary.
Yeah, some of the fans get carried away.
It's insane. So. So so right now, what you got going on? You're wrestling again, and you got your training center, and then you got your trainees. But I see you guys on Facebook. It seems like you guys are wrestling a lot lately.
Yeah, we've been getting some bookings like crazy, man. Basically, right now I got the old Amish boys. Their gimmicks popping off really well, and I've kind of took them under my wing, and things just popping off.
And Chris, one of the things that I've noticed about it is I done a special edition podcast earlier in the week, and where I just talked about gimmicks, and man, I tell you that Amish gimmick that you guys that they got going on, it's red hot. I mean, it's really getting over. Especially, and I love I saw a picture where they had the chicken, and I think that was awesome.
Yeah, that was my bright idea.
I kind of figured that. I was like,
basically at first, I was like, you guys gotta get a prop, and I was like, we gotta get something for you guys to come out with. So we went to the flea market, and we found them a butter churn, a wooden butter churn. Then, they came out with the butter churn a couple times. People loved it. People ate it up. And I was like, we need to take the next step. I want you guys to come out with a chicken. And they're like, what? I was like, dude, I'm telling you, like, it will be over. Just trust me. Just come out with a chicken. I'm not asking you to hold the chicken the whole time. Basically what we do is, right before our match, we'll have somebody just walk to the ring, and we got this little wooden crate for the chicken.
Yeah.
Her name's Betsy, by the way.
Okay.
And we'll have them put the little crate, then it's got little laughs on it and everything, and the lid lifts up, and we'll have him put it by ringside. You know, we'll do our entrance or whatever, and right before the bell rings, he'll just put the chicken in the box and, you know, close the lid and take the chicken back to the locker room. So nobody doesn't, you know, so nobody doesn't get thrown over the top rope and end up squashing a chicken.
Right. Yeah. That is great. And
also, so it doesn't stress her out either. We don't want her to get stressed. But
right.
she's done really, really well though.
That's good. Yeah. When I saw the picture of that, I said, "Oh my gosh, that is." I'm popping for that myself, because that was just a great idea to add more depth to the characters. And
oh man, it's over with the crowd and it's over in the locker room.
I'm sure, because
you should see the looks that we get when, like, you know, somebody that hasn't seen us. You know, these guys walk in the locker room and they're sitting a wooden crate and there's a chicken clucking in, and they're just like, is that a chicken? Who's got a chicken?
That is great. And I think you and I have a show together coming up here in the next couple of weeks. So hopefully you guys have the chicken for that, because that'd be great.
Are you talking about Sanford?
Yes.
Yes. We will most definitely be bringing the chicken.
That's good, because the date on that show is what, June 12th, 13th, June 13th, I believe.
I believe so. I'll have to look at my calendar.
Yeah, I have to look at mine too.
Isn't there one in May too?
Yes, I think May 31st.
Isn't the next one May 25th?
May 25th. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, I'll have to look at my calendar, man. That's why I write this stuff down.
One of the good things about Carolina's Own Wrestling is, like, they're, you know, that promoter's got a lot of shows coming up, and man, he's got us booked on every show, and it's always, you know, it's a good time there.
Mm-hmm.
The crowd's pretty hot there.
Yes, it is.
Thanks to us.
There's probably not much to do. There's probably not much to do in Sanford. So
no, there's not. But you know, you get the Amish Outlaws, and you get Danny Vegas, and you get Terrific Tony involved, and you know, something's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's chicken's getting choked or something. Who knows? But no, you know, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a really fun time. You know, I was just thinking about this the other day. You know, I've been taking, you know, like I don't wrestle every weekend because I have a lot going on in my life as it is. But yeah. The month of June, I think I'm booked almost every weekend. So I'm kind of excited about that. It's been a while since I've wrestled every weekend, man. And most of them I think are with you guys. So that makes it even better.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Let's see. So you done the music thing for a while and was very successful with that. You know, one of the things, and I ain't saying this just because I got you on my podcast, but I think you have a great creative mind to come up with these characters, and to you know, to give them, you know, deeper depth, and I think that kind of comes back. What I'm trying to say is, like, your talent to do that kind of comes from your musical background, because, you know, being a musician, you're always thinking about something, you know, how to put a song together, and so I think that probably helps you a lot with coming up with these gimmicks and these characters.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, like I've told them, my trainees, I feel like professional wrestling right now at this very moment it's missing characters. Like, I feel like anytime that I turn on the TV now, it's just some dude, some guy in some nice tights that can, you know, do a bunch of fancy spots.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I miss, you know, turning on the TV as a kid and getting lost in those characters. You know, those characters didn't do much, but you still got lost in them. Like, you know, guys like The Undertaker, Goldust, Mankind, you know, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like professional wrestling nowadays is missing that. Like, that's what I told my boys. I was like, I want to bring back, like, if I bring back anything, I want to bring back characters.
Yeah. And, you know, on the independent scene, you don't have a lot of guys that have characters. They're
you don't, and
you don't.
I don't know if they're like too embarrassed to do it or what. Like, they could not, like I said, like there's some guys that come in that locker room and they just cannot believe that we have a freaking chicken,
mm-hmm.
Sitting there in the locker room, and I'm just like, you got to get over, man. Like, and like we debuted her down in Gibsonville at CWF, and the owner Jeff down there told us, he was just like, man, he said, I love that you guys are so motivated, and you guys are trying to get over, and you guys are taking that next step to get over. And he's like, and he said, with you guys, coming in here and being newcomers and being motivated, he said it's contagious and it motivates us, to get over and be better and, get the crowd into it more and make things more exciting.
Right. Yeah. And getting back to what you said about why you don't think many guys do that. I'll tell you why, or at least my opinion. My opinion is they want to get themselves over, not their character, so that when they go to work on Monday or they go to school, they can say, "Oh yeah, I did this to it. I just use me. It was Tony. It wasn't, whatever character that I portrayed." I think that's the majority of the issues why a lot of independent guys don't have characters, is because they want they want to see their name on the poster, on the internet. They don't want to see a character that is fictitious. But what they're doing, they're missing the boat, because I'd much rather go see the Amish Outlaws than to go see I don't even know a good name to bury, but I mean I know a lot of people like to bury, but I don't mention their name on my podcast.
Just whoever,
But yeah. But
Joe Blow.
Yeah,
whoever,
yeah,
Just the random Joe Blow.
And it's so funny whenever I was kind of like that when I had my wrestling company, because I know a lot of times me and the guys would, after wrestling training, we'd sit around and shoot the bull. And I'll never forget, probably the funniest thing in my life. We were sitting around. We used to have this guy that worked for me, and he was just a funny guy. I mean, he had so many jokes. And so during this time on wrestling, they had like these names. They were names, but they were words, like just incredible, that kind of thing. So he had like a whole bunch of names. It was so funny. But he had this gimmick that he wanted to do, but I said, "No, man, you can't do it. It's too over the top." But he was going to call himself Willie, last name Shafter. And
that's funny.
Yeah, and he was going to bring sex toys to the ring and use those as gimmicks to go over on his match. And I was like, "No, man, we can't do that." I said, "A majority of I'm trying to create a family atmosphere, and I can't have Willie Shafter coming out there with all these sex toys winning matches." He said, "But man, it'd be so over. People will love it." And looking back now, I kind of wish I would let him done it. But hindsight, I probably made the better decision to not do it. But this day and time, it would probably this day and time it would probably it would probably get over. And then
I was about to say, if you done it this day and time, it'd probably go viral. Man.
It would. And then he told me, he said yeah, and he says Willie will have a tag team partner. You know what his name will be? I said, I'm scared to hear it. He goes, his first name will be Mo. His last name is Lester. I was like,
"Oh my!"
I said, "You were in a whole different world, dude." But and
that one's a little too far.
Yeah. But I don't know if he was just he was one of those kind of guys that joked so much you never knew when he was being serious and when he was just trying to pull a rib. And but man, I'll never forget that. That was probably the hardest I ever laughed in my life. And he went into these deep, like very, very vivid explanations of this character that he wanted to do. And I was like, man, we can't do that. We can't. oh man, come on, just let me do it one show. I promise. If I don't get it over, you ain't got to pay my booking fee. I'm like, I'm not paying you anyway. You know, it was so funny though. But man, I was like, man, that's crazy. But you know, but I think that's definitely missing on the independent scene is gimmicks, you know, and like I talked about on my last podcast, gimmicks it gets you places in life because I remember as a kid growing up, McDonald's had gimmicks like you know, I remember watching the commercials. You know, McDonald's had so many characters you couldn't keep up with all of them. You had the McFry guys, you had Grimace, you had the Hamburglar, and Ronald McDonald, and I felt like during that time when they had those characters, I believe McDonald's was probably selling more Happy Meals and things like that then than probably what they do now. You know.
Yeah.
It's just gimmicks are a lost art, and there's not many of them around anymore. And I'm so happy and I'm happy that your guys are doing that because I really think that's going to push them farther, and you know, in their wrestling career. And the fact that that those guys and I say your guys are so dedicated because I know for a fact that I've seen it. You guys have came and helped put a ring up and tear a ring down. And you guys didn't even work on the show, you know, that
exactly,
right there,
man.
That says a lot about your character, you know.
That's part of the business too, man. Like I tell them, like, you know, without that ring, you know, there is no show.
Right. The ring is a star of the show.
Ring,
it ain't us.
You're not the star. That ring is the star.
Right. Exactly. You know, it's just you know, it's just a crazy time right now in pro wrestling. Like you know, in the 90s, wrestling was really big, but I think now to me, I think the independent scene is getting is getting over a whole lot more compared to the big time. I think a lot more people are going to independent shows than they are going to the major shows.
Yes. To me, like right now, man, you know, and I'm not trying to shoot on WWE or anything like that, but
no, definitely not.
Right now, I feel like WWE is like McDonald's. You know, you don't want to eat it, but if you're bored and hungry, you're going to eat it, and you may not like it later when it digests.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right. And my thing is
McDonald's is huge. You know, McDonald's is basically, you know, huge. Like, you know, McDonald's is like Walmart. You know, they're never going away.
Right.
And WWE is like that.
Yeah, they're never going away. But you know, the one thing that I miss the most about wrestling, about TV wrestling, is competition. Like, you know, I miss those days when it was WCW and WWE, and every Monday night they went head on. That is a time in my life that I'll never forget, but unfortunately I don't think we'll ever see again.
I mean, maybe you never know, man. Old Cody Rhodes is starting that AEW up. We'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, hopefully, you know, all those stories that Cody heard as a child of, you know, Dusty saying, oh, man, we shouldn't have done this. We should have done this. You know, this is what we done wrong. This is what we should have done. You know, maybe, you know, just maybe Cody will do what WCW done.
Yeah.
Like, he'll do it right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think so. And he's got such a huge group of talent working with him. I don't really see why his product would fail. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got some good stuff going on. And real quick, I just want to touch base on this past weekend. I know if anybody out there heard, it was all over Twitter and Facebook, but there was a really bad situation happened here in North Carolina over the weekend with a good friend of mine. Jacob Ryan, and unfortunately he was put in a situation that he shouldn't have been put in the first place. What are your thoughts on that situation?
I haven't really spoke about it, like on Facebook or Twitter or anything. Been trying to basically just stay out of it.
Yeah, me too.
But when it comes to that, when it comes to the incident that happened over the weekend, all I can say is Brad Anderson is a piece of crap, and he doesn't deserve to be in this business or hold the Anderson name. And anyone that was involved, they don't deserve to be in the business as well. And I feel for Jacob Ryan, and hopefully, it looks like right now, some good is coming out of a bad situation. So
Yeah.
I feel for Jacob Ryan, I actually talked to Jacob. I messaged him on Facebook, and I told him, I said, man, don't let this intervene with your love for professional wrestling. There's crappy people out there in this business, but there's a lot of good people too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just stand strong, and I think he'll be all right.
Well, what I think now, this is me, but I think what's going to happen with this situation is he tried to hurt Jacob, but I think what he really did was he helped Jacob. Because now I'm seeing
he did.
I mean, Jacob's going to Jacob can pretty much probably ask his own price and probably get it now, because I really truly think that a lot of promoters are gonna definitely book him and use him and take good care of him. And even
they should, man. He's a great worker and a
super,
great dude.
And what I like so much about him is he's so humble. He's very humble. A lot of young guys like that, that are been in the business for a while, they can tend to get a little cocky and think they're all that in a bag of chips. But I have known Jacob now for probably 5-6 years, and he's still the same humble kid that I met. And as a matter of fact, I had ran a show about 5 or 6 years ago, and he came up and worked for me. And he told me, he said, I just want to let you know, he said, I haven't had very many matches and I don't know a lot, but I'll do whatever you want me to do. And he and I worked together, and man, I was like, after the match, I was like, what do you mean you ain't worked in a while? I said, dude, you were just smooth out there. And he's like, well, I appreciate that. He said, but I'm still learning. And I said, well, keep it up. I said, because you're doing really, really well. And he and I had a great match, and I saw him. I worked a show about 3 weeks ago, and he was on that show, and the same deal, man. He walked up to me and gave me a hug and said, "Hey, Tony, I'm glad to see you, man. I ain't seen you in a while." I said, "I know it's been a while, but just a humble kid, and very unfortunate what happened to him." But I hold the office, liable, the promoter liable. I don't care what they say. That promoter knew what was going to happen, and he basically put Jacob in a dangerous working position, and he should never have been there in the first place.
Yeah, it's definitely a crazy situation, but like I said, and like you said, Brad Anderson didn't do anything to hurt Jacob. He actually helped him.
Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing now.
He may have physically hurt him that night, but dude, he helped him.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be, and I don't remember who it was, but I remember somebody had screenshot and posted on Facebook. But one of the guys from TNA was talking about it, and he said, "Hey," he said, I think it
was Austin Aries.
That's right, Austin Aries. He said,
yeah.
he said, I will pay his $40 booking fee. Just put him in the ring with me for 5 minutes, and we'll see how it goes.
He had tweeted Frank Mir, and he had tweeted Frank Mir about putting him in, I think, the ring with Frank Mir or something.
Okay, yeah, I knew it was something like that, but yeah. Do it to it.
There's actually a few guys that have mentioned it, like bigger guys. Sean Waltman, X-Pac, he mentioned it on Twitter, and I think Road Dogg Jesse James did too.
Wow, that's good. I mean, see it, and it's so not funny, but how that little 2-minute thing went viral so quick. I mean, my Facebook was blown up with it on Sunday right after it happened. It blew me away. It broke my heart to see that happen to him, and I was like, man. But thank goodness all those guys came to his aid.
When I seen the video, I was livid.
Yeah, well, that's how I knew about it. You would message me and said, "Hey, did you happen to see?" And I was like, "No," and because I was in Orlando on Sunday driving home, so I didn't see it until late Sunday evening. But still, I was like, man, I can't believe this happened. And but like you said, I see nothing but dollar signs and great exposure for him coming up. So what is what's on your agenda this coming weekend? You got a booking coming up? I'm sure you do.
Yes, we are booked at CWF Gibsonville for 80s night, so that's gonna be fun.
Oh, that's great. If I still have my mullet.
I know, man. I wish I had some hair.
Have my mullet, I'd show up there. Yeah, for sure.
But when's this podcast going? This podcast going to air next week?
No, this podcast will air Thursday. This Thursday.
This Thursday. All right. Well, never mind. I don't want to give away any spoilers on what the Amish Outlaws are going to do.
Okay.
They're going to do something from the 80s, but it's going to be from the 1880s.
Oh man, that's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome to see. So anybody out
the
there?
1980s.
Yeah, that's going to be great. So this show, the Night of the 80s, is going to be this coming Saturday. And where's it going to be at?
Gibsonville, North Carolina, at the Mid-Atlantic Sportatorium.
Oh, and the showtime is what, 7?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I got to look at my calendar on that one too.
Yeah, you're like me. I have to. If without my calendar, I'd be lost.
If anybody wants to go, they can do some research.
Yeah, just go on CWF
Google.
Facebook, and there it is. You get all your information. And exactly. A lot of those guys in CWF I've known for a long time, and they're really great guys. And the announcer up there, Randy Hedrick. I mean, he's a great guy too. I've worked with him a lot. A lot of guys up there. I like a lot of them, and I've worked up there a few times, and I had a good time. And hopefully one day they'll bring me back because it was fun.
I would love that, man.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you for coming on my show and sharing your opinions and learning about all this cool stuff about you and gimmicks, and keep the Amish Outlaws going. And pretty soon, hopefully, we'll see them on WWE and see them against the Hardy Boys or somebody.
Yeah, maybe one day, man. You never know. I appreciate you.
Not a problem, my friend. Well, you have a good week, and I'll see you soon.
You too, brother.
All right, man. We'll see you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for another edition of the BENGEBUSTER Show. Tune in next week as we will have another special guest.